Hello everyone, welcome to NPC's Economics. At the beginning of January 2024, Ken McElroy made a video issuing a grim warning to all renters. The too long didn't read version of his video is that the United States has failed to build sufficient housing since the Great Recession in the late 2000s.
Renters need help. In the next 2 or 3 years, affordability is going to get much, much worse. For most people, renting is not a choice, but I believe it should be. In this video, I'm going to show you why renting is not a choice by just doing the math.
Essentially, he claims that the issue is there are too many people competing for housing. It is a supply problem because population growth is not going to stop. Many of the points McElroy made in this video seem to make sense at first, and his narrative was the dominant one pre-pandemic, especially in high cost of living in coastal regions like many in California. But his video has omitted several important contexts and current trends that shape the housing market for renters, and I'm going to tell you what they are. But first, who is Ken McElroy? No, not that one. Ken McElroy is the founder and CEO of MC Companies, a real estate investment and property management company based in Arizona. Essentially, his background is in real estate. McElroy's first argument that renters are in trouble because the US population is growing year over year, which represents an increase in demand for housing. Yes, this is true, but it is missing all kinds of context. For one, household level data exists, and it is kind of suspicious that he made no mention of households and household formation. If we're talking about housing supply and demand, wouldn't the number of households be a better match than population? Also, the US population is growing at the slowest pace, something that he conveniently chose not to show. What is also not mentioned is that the US Census has been downward revising its population projection. This is an older Census Bureau population projection from 2012. Census projected 341 million people in the US in 2023, but in reality, there were only 335 million people in 2023. Yes, the pandemic was part of it. Although population trends have for now returned to pre-pandemic norms, population growth is still historically low, and there is no indication whether it will make up for the lost ground. And my guess is no, at least not for the foreseeable future. My point is that there is no reason to assume that the rate of population growth will pick up and that the population will even keep growing indefinitely. The US Census actually now projects a population decline in the United States starting around 2080. Not even immigration can keep buoying it. I talked about it in a previous video. Although he did state that there are all kinds of nuances, he then proceeded to compare population to this. This is a chart on new privately owned housing units started in total units. My main issue is not the chart. For years, after the Great Recession, I think it is fair to say that the United States had been underbuilding housing units, which was especially true in metro areas like the Bay Area, where one housing unit was built for every 5 to 6 jobs added to the local economy. My main beef is, again, that this chart is shown without any further context. This is the total housing units in the United States, which stood at 145 some million units in 2023. True, housing starts have slumped since the Great Recession, but housing units to population is actually at its highest point, 434 housing units per 1,000 people. From 2003 to 2023, population grew 15%, while housing units grew 20%. In fact, from 2018 to 2023, while population grew 6.4 million people, the number of housing units went up by 7 million. more than one housing unit per person added. Throughout McElroy's video, what is conspicuously absent is the lack of mention of other factors, such as the rise of short-term rentals like Airbnb, that may contribute to the unaffordable housing problems we see today. Also missing is the lack of mention of elevated housing starts in the multifamily housing sector. Apartments under construction is actually at a 50-year high as we speak. What I also find strange is the lack of mention of the effect of money printing during and post-pandemic. It is actually amazing how well the M2 money supply tracks with the median list price of housing per square feet. This is not to say that renting is affordable. It really is not for many people. While rent may be stabilizing, the rent hike during the pandemic is not really gonna go away. But buying a home is even more unaffordable, relatively speaking. And this is not to say that we don't have a supply problem. Is the right kind of housing being built in the right places? Real estate is highly localized, and it is not prudent to make sweeping generalization across. Lastly, Ken McElroy is a real estate investor. Would you take real estate advice from someone who has a vested interest in people buying instead of renting? So, what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and I'll see you next time. Bye!